All right, friends. We are changing the name of this show now to Texas Hoops today. Hoops with a Z. Don't get that confused. It is March Madness. It is one of, I really feel like almost any sport lover's favorite time of the year. The bracket has been set. Selection Sunday was yesterday. And as of last year, we welcomed in our chief bracketologist, Miss Mallory Hartley. So we have her.
Thank you.
Claps from the Peanut Gallery. The member of the Peanut Gallery, we have our noted basketball fan, Greg Powers.
What's up, y'all?
Noted basketball. I like how I am like the expert, expert here, and then we were gonna put.
His shirt says football. We were gonna put
I am March
thing that said basketball over it.
Or I am March.
I am March.
That's what it should have been. We should have just put I am March on there.
So we have all filled out our brackets, correct?
I've mentally filled it out.
Mentally filled it out.
Okay,
all
mentally.
right. I just realized I left part of the bracket unfilled, so I need to go back and do. There's like one little subsection that I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll start off with you, Mal, because you are the chief bracketologist of note. So
yeah,
start off with, I guess, big picture. Well, we'll go here. Tell me your final four and your champion, and then we'll start talking through like a couple of sleepers
upsets
or a couple
and stuff like that.
Possible upsets. But give me your final four, which is being held in Houston for the men's bracket.
Yeah.
And tell me who you think will be playing down there at NRG.
I think so. I'll go ahead and start off with my final four. I've got Alabama coming out of the South region.
Okay.
Houston coming out of the Midwest. I've got Marquette coming out of the East. I have hopped on that Marquette bandwagon, even though Powers might think a little bit differently. And then I've got Gonzaga coming out of the West region.
All right.
I've got Alabama and Houston playing in the national championship. And I picked Alabama.
Boo.
I picked Alabama to win. I've seen Alabama. I've seen them play Michigan State. I saw them destroy Michigan State. They're a really dang good team. They're heating up right now, too. But I'm also conflicted on the whole game being in Houston. It's basically in Houston's backyard, and Alabama's already beat Houston once, so it's really, really hard to beat a good team twice. But I'm just going off of what I know. I've seen Alabama play. I mean, I saw them play Texas A&M in the SEC championship and just wiped them out completely. So, I picked Alabama as my champion. All right,
your champion. So, Alabama, Houston, Marquette, and Gonzaga.
Yep.
Alabama, Houston in the championship, and you have Alabama coming out of it.
Yep.
All right, noted basketball fan, Greg Powers. Final four, championship, and who wins?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Mal on some of these picks.
Okay.
Right?
Yay.
And in the South region bracket, I do like Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Arizona's a pretty good team, and I'm one of these like front runners, right? Like I'm the 1 and 2 guy. And it's good for finishing third in the bracket.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm going to stick with Alabama in the South. In the East, I got a little bit of an upset. I like Duke. I like Duke in that one.
That was tough.
There isn't a team that really moves the needle for me there. I think Purdue is good enough to win the whole entire tournament, but I also think that they're streaky enough that they could like lose in round 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And their big man Zach Edey, he's great. But if
really
teams can find a way to defend him, I think that, and they're not hot on threes, I think that they can get beat. So that's why I think Duke is probably the most consistent team out of that region, even though they're not one of the higher seeds. Moving over to the Midwest, I'm going to stick with our guy Ish Johnson, and I'm going to go with UH. That's a team that I think they got beaten by Memphis in the conference championship game, but their players are just really good. Like they're fun to watch. They're exciting. They get up and down the floor. And then I'm going with Gonzaga too in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that it's a great offensive team. I'm going to go with Duke and Gonzaga in the championship, and I'm going to pick the Zags.
All right.
All right, so you're going with the typical blue bloods there.
I guess.
I'm going with the red bloods.
Okay, I guess. I mean, Alabama's not your typical blue blood. I just think that they've probably run out of gas.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it. They got a lot of young players. So, I mean, I'm going with I know Duke's young, too. But I think a lot of people are, like, sleeping on them in the ACC this year. I think people are sleeping on the ACC in general.
Well, and this is their first year in the tournament with new head coach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll see how that goes.
So mine are pretty similar to both of y'all's. Out of the South, I'm going Alabama. That's a team that I've watched play a couple of times, and they genuinely are all that they're cracked up to be. Out of the Midwest, I'm going with the Cougs of Houston. Out of the East, I'm going with Marquette. I am also on the bandwagon. I also think that the East is just kind of meh. Like, I think out of any of the brackets, that's probably, or any of the regions, I think that's probably the lightest one. Not to say that there's not a lot of really good talent in there, but it's just.
You said the East?
Yeah.
I was going to say the same exact thing. That's got to be the lightest region.
Yeah, in the way of, like, I don't think that there's one specific standout. I think that anyone could get hot at a certain moment and then just run with it.
There's not a dominant team like I'd say Houston. Like, I don't think Purdue is dominant.
No, but I think that Purdue could get hot at the right moment and he beat Marquette. But I think the safest pick there is Marquette.
Right.
And then out of the West, I am not going Gonzaga. I have them going to the Sweet 16, but I have Kansas beating them.
Okay.
I am a little bullish on Kansas, but I also think that I think that Kansas will get hot in the tournament.
They always seem to typically do that.
Mm-hmm.
And man,
I think that they're going to be upset about not winning the Big 12, and I think that they're going to get hot.
I was going to say, I think I was kind of turned off by them in the Big 12 tournament. I mean, that was such a butt whooping by Texas. I mean, I was just kind of shocked at that. I mean, before that, I probably would have picked Kansas coming out of the West, but
and
before that, I think
Kansas
shocking.
reacts in the right way to that, and they turn it into something and get hot later on in the tournament.
Right.
So for my Final Four, I have Alabama, Houston, Marquette, and Kansas. I'm going to go Alabama winning the left side of the bracket, the Cougs winning the right side of the bracket, and I'm going Cougs all the way.
Okay, good
they did not look good against. I was actually at their game against Memphis
yesterday. Yeah, that's right. You
were. Marcus Sasser being out was a huge struggle in and of itself. I think that if Sasser can get that groin rested up and get back into the game, that team has the capability to take it all the way, and I think that they revenge the regular season loss on Alabama.
Right. Well, and it's also we talked about this before too. It's really hard to beat a good team twice, much less 3 times.
Yeah,
so it was probably time for Memphis to
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's a lot of tape they have on him. Yeah, it was about time for them.
So I got the Cougs.
The conference tournaments are like a grind too, right? Like I don't really feel like you can even look in the semifinals or the finals of those conference tournaments and be like, oh yeah, well,
right
now this is my team because they beat Houston.
Well, and I think that I can tell you that Sasser came out fully dressed yesterday. He was walking like fairly well, and he came out fully dressed. And I wondered when they started getting down if they were going to risk putting him in. And it was clear as day that Coach Sampson was like, absolutely not. Like
they were going to secure the 1 seed anyway, right?
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Memphis can really shoot too. Memphis can really shoot. If they get cold, they've got chance to get beat. But if they stay warm, Memphis can take on people.
And you know who Memphis is playing in the first round? FAU.
Yes.
What a fantastic matchup. And
I took FAU.
I took FAU too, because we've seen them play, and that team is scary. And they're in a mid-major, but 3 losses in a basketball season. I mean, that's incredible.
FAU is
really sharpshooters.
Deep.
And deep too. Yes.
Deep.
Yes.
Penny has done a great job with that Memphis team in that they've got a couple of guys, number 3, whatever he is. I mean, he went off for like 23 points in the first half the other day.
Right.
He can really, really, really shoot. But I think FAU is deep, and I think FAU has a lot better big play. So
I think so too. Okay, let's look at like first round upsets. What do we think is going to be like considered an upset? Maybe like a higher seed beating a lower seed. Or,
well,
you know
you're
what
first,
I mean.
Miss Chief Bracketologist.
Okay, let's see. I think I'm convinced that Penn State's going to beat Texas A&M. I think that's kind of a good upset. I mean, it's a 10 beating a 7. So I'm not really convinced on Texas A&M. They're not typically a deep tournament team. I don't even think they really typically make the tournament on a regular basis. I could be wrong about that, so please don't judge me. But I mean, I do know how deep the Big Ten is, and I do know that week after week they go through gauntlets of teams, and so I think Penn State is better cut out for the tournament than Texas A&M. So I would not be surprised to see Penn State pulling the upset there.
I don't know if I want to tell my upset picks on air. You know what I mean? But I will. I mean,
I'll be a team player.
This is why you're here.
No.
Noted basketball fan.
Noted
Grant Powers not giving up his secrets.
seriously, one of the best teams I felt like I watched throughout the course of the season was Charleston.
Okay.
Charleston is real. Like, Charleston is as talented as a lot of the higher seeds. I thought that they didn't get a great draw. So, I mean, I thought that was a bad draw for them. And a team that I can't pick that I think that could completely wreck my bracket is Oral Roberts, because I'm going with Duke.
Yep.
And I think Oral Roberts is really good. They have a huge big man who's really athletic. I think he's like 7'5" or something. And they can absolutely rain threes. So if there's a team that you're talking about bracket buster, no one's going to – I mean, very few people are going to pick Oral Roberts, but that's a team that I think that fans should really pay close attention to, and they could absolutely destroy me.
But you also –
That's my pick.
You picked
Oral Roberts was
my
my upset pick.
Oh, dang. I stole your thunder.
No, it's good. No, I'm glad, because it verifies. I completely agree. I think that Duke has always had fantastic defense, and I think that they will have that. But if Oral Roberts gets hot in that first round, and especially just because they're playing, the time that the upsets happen is when it is that name brand. That's what people really focus on. Like you said, Texas A&M and Penn State, that's fun. That's whatever. Texas A&M is a big brand name to us, but in basketball, it's not to a lot of other people. So to see, all eyes are going to be on that Oral Roberts and Duke game, and I think that's
right.
That's my big upset pick.
I think Oral Roberts would have beaten
that. See, that's what I was going to say, Powers. I said we talked about this beforehand, and I kind of agree with you on the fact that if it wasn't Duke, so let's say if Oral Roberts was matched up with, who's another 5 seed? Let's see, San Diego State, that could be an upset. But the fact that it's a household name, it's Duke, they know how to make deep tournament runs
but I think
year after year.
I think
that's a good point. That's a good point, right?
My thing is always, what is the easiest route to see someone just completely overlooking their competition?
You're right. I agree with that.
There's some sneaky good teams in here too. If you watch a lot of regular season basketball, like Providence is an 11 and UConn is a 4. Those teams are almost like mirrors of one another. Very physical teams, big, strong players, and if you're looking for value, right? Providence, I think, is like a good value pick. And
that was hard.
UConn is like a scary team because they started to click towards the end of the year and found their identity on the offensive side of the ball, and I think they are very physical on defense. So that's just a good conference this year. There were a lot of really good teams in there because Dayton was even really good.
Yeah,
I forgot my right side of the bracket pick for the upset. I usually try to do one upset pick on each side of the bracket just to be fun with it. I picked Drake over Miami. I like that Drake team.
I actually thought about doing that too.
I think that's a manageable to the 12 versus 5.
Yes, that's another. There always seems to be one
I like
12
that Drake team
over.
A lot.
Okay, here's a question. Since I'm curious to know who you guys picked, but since this is a Texas podcast, how far do you have Texas going?
I have Texas meeting up with Houston in the Sweet 16.
Okay.
No, in the 8, the Elite 8.
Okay.
Yeah, Elite 8. I have Houston and Texas meeting up in the Elite 8.
See, I think Texas got the best draw out of any team.
Yeah.
I think Texas is primed to go to the Elite 8 and match up with Houston. I think Houston's draw at number 1 is much more difficult because there's some teams
Iowa or Auburn could get either of them.
Don't look past Indiana.
Yeah.
Indiana is a team that could probably win this entire Indiana's really good.
Yep. Yeah, I have
and
Indiana and Houston in the Sweet 16.
They've got 2 players with was it Jackson Davis and Hook Schifino who could be, when this thing's all the dust is settled.
Teams.
Yeah. They've been ranked pretty much all year.
Yeah, they're really good and again, what I feel like is a complete team. So I don't think the committee did Houston any favors, but Texas looks like they got a tremendous draw. So I really can't pick against Texas until the Elite 8.
Yeah, we have a couple of we have one Texas Longhorn fan in the office that came up and was like, "Of course we would get A&M and and it's
Great.
and at that point it's possible."
Yeah.
I think that Texas is a better basketball team than Texas A&M is, but I also think that Texas having this historically unbelievable season with everything that's gone on and blah blah blah, that the most likely Texas way to end this, especially when it comes to basketball, is to find a way to lose to A&M.
I was going to say, yeah, I have them losing in the Sweet 16 to Xavier. I love Xavier. They're always hot. They're always a hot tournament team. And I always think back to that, what was it, 2 years ago when they lost to Abilene Christian in the first round? It's like they just don't do well in tournament setting. I don't know.
Xavier's
I
got
can't
a
get
great
past
coach.
that.
Xavier
Xavier is
does
really
have a great
freaking
coach.
good. Really, really good. So I wouldn't be surprised
I could
to
see that.
upset.
I mean, I can see Xavier getting like
they're always hot in the
out
tournament.
muscled at Iowa. I know Iowa State like limped in, right?
Yeah.
But they're still tough and physical, and everybody's building up to Big 12 so much this year.
I
so
know.
you know what I mean? Like it's can Iowa State have the recipe to beat a Xavier team if they are both advanced, right?
Right.
But there are some of those Big 12 teams that I think are on upset alert. I'm just not
Definitely.
a big. I mean, I'm a believer in the Big 12. I'm not a big believer in some of the back end teams.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't buy into all this quad one, all this mess all the time that
I
they're
know.
using all these
Quad one
algorithms.
wins
Give me the
and-
teams that win 20 games.
Yep.
Right.
That's who I like.
Right.
All right, last one here. What was one of the hardest games for you to pick in the first round? Just the first round. Obviously, they get very difficult as you move on.
Right. In the first round. Ooh, that's a good one. There's so many of them.
I still haven't made my decision between Arkansas and Illinois.
Okay.
Because I felt really good about Arkansas, and then they looked like crap when they played A&M the other day, and I think A&M only beat them by like 1 or 2. But it was just it felt like a much worse loss than it actually was. I still haven't made that's like the only blank I have left on this thing.
I picked Illinois pretty easily. I honestly, like, I picked, and this was not like on purpose, but I picked every Big Ten team to make it out of the first round. So that might be kind of terrifying.
That's very much on purpose.
Including my own
Yeah.
team. And that's
No
very
doubt.
that's even very suspicious. So I don't know. You know what? I think Kentucky Providence was pretty tricky for me to
I think that's
pick
a tough
because
one.
I think they're both. I mean, Kentucky's obviously the natural blue blood there, but I think Providence has kind of always made a name for themselves when it comes tournament time.
I thought Iowa and Auburn was difficult to choose between two. It's always those 8-9 seed games, which, you know, a bracket works that way because that's how it's supposed to work. But
Iowa, Auburn's good. Iowa's dang good, though. I think Iowa's.
I think
I was
NC
gonna
State
go
and
for 'em.
Creighton. For me, NC
picked
State and
Creighton.
I like
Creighton
that.
is really a tough game. Terquavion Smith might be he's at least one of the top 5 players to me in the country. Or at least he's one of the top 5 most exciting offensive players to watch. And Creighton is really well-rounded. You're not going to run away from them.
They
And
always
NC
are,
State's
yeah.
going to want to get out and run. So that's an intriguing first-round matchup to me and one that I'm going to flip-flop back and forth. I'll do the multiple bracket thing. Sometimes I'll pick Creighton and sometimes I'll pick NC State.
Speaking to that a little bit, I picked Creighton to play Baylor in the second round. That's a fantastic matchup.
I did
really
too.
hope that happens.
I did
I
too.
really, really hope
Although
that
I
happens.
think Baylor kind of really pooped the bed in the Big 12 tournament.
Well, and don't they rely a lot on like their 3-point game, which just doesn't obviously do well in the
Well,
tournament?
I think
so
did they lose all 3 times to Iowa State this year? I just
Ooh, yeah.
maybe
I
it's
did
just a
pick
bad
Creighton in that
matchup.
game.
Right.
I don't know.
yeah.
yeah,
I'm not a big Iowa State.
expert.
Noted Iowa State
Yeah.
basketball fan Greg Powers.
I am catching up on all things Baylor though between 2 Bears.
There we go. Look
Hey,
at
that podcast is fire. Not gonna lie, I listened to the first episode and was like, these dudes are great. I mean, they're all great, but that one was really funny too.
Let's go.
Plug.
Well, there you go. Texas Hoops Today, featuring our chief bracketologist, Mallory Hartley. Thank you for joining us again this
You're
year
welcome.
for some Hoops Talk.
You're so
and our newly named noted basketball fan, Greg Powers. You feel good about your bracket?
fun.
And with the Oral Roberts thing hanging over my head,
Uh-huh.
it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I reserve
That's
the
gonna be
right to
close.
change my opinion as, with more sleeps.
Okay.
Yeah.
More sleeves. What
Okay.
day do games actually
Thursday.
tip off? Thursday? Okay.
Well, I think playing games might start
Yeah,
Wednesday.
you're right.
But I mean, that's
I don't count
games. Yeah.
you're not allowed to count bracket points until after the playoff.
Yeah, because you
the
don't
play-in
you don't
games.
pick the right. You start at Thursday.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, there it is. A little bit of Texas Hoops Today.